another creative phase when you look back and you're like, that's the story that I told. And it's
Right.
not very good, but I can make it good. And here's what I'm going to do. And so, yes, definitely. It's I think a typical book, every writer's different, but a typical book, you go over it again and again and again. And I couldn't tell you how many drafts because it's kind of in fits and starts, but it's a lot more work. I've always wished that it burned more calories because I'm sometimes exhausted
I'm
when I get to
sure.
the end. And it's like, oh my God, I worked so hard on that and I didn't move a muscle.
Well, it's funny that you say that there must be a book in there because when I was a child, I would write all the time. And I used to say, I'm going to be a writer when I grow up. And then I ended up going into journalism where I do have to write a lot. But also, my lifelong goal is to eventually have a published book. So,
Well, then you just stated it aloud, and that's always the first step. I have to
exactly.
say, when I was first starting out, I wasn't super public about it. There was no social media or anything, so I didn't have to worry about that. But I wasn't. I was really shy to let people know what I was doing. And so it was kind of fun to come out and say, well, I wrote this book and then the book comes out. But on the other hand, I think it probably held me back a little that I didn't declare my
Yeah.
intention because there's something about saying it aloud. And so I have no doubt that that's going to happen for you one of these days. It sounds like you're in a really busy time of your life, and sometimes you need to wait for a little lull in that or a hiatus in that. But when I teach writing, and I do like to teach writing sometimes in workshops and everything, and I just tell them, tell the 10-minute story. Take
Yes.
these 10 minutes and get your cup of coffee and just write something.
I
And
love
you never
that.
know what it's going to turn into.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I've always said I think that I owe it to young Jessica to have a book published because
Keep the dream alive, Jessica. You can do it.
yes, because that's always what young Jessica thought. Now, I love my journalism career and it is such a passion and that
Well, and you're
evolved and
writing a lot for journalism as
you
well, right?
you are, yes. And that
Mhm.
my dream evolved into journalism when I became like a preteen and teenager. But there's
Mhm.
always that little thing that when you were a little girl that you dreamed about, and I want to make that come true too.
You do. You must have related to Odessa in Wayward Girls, that character. In my books, there's almost always a writer. Maybe she's not the
Yes.
main character, but she's a really important character. And sure enough, we saw the seeds of Odessa's eventual career, and it was a book that brought the team back together again because after they escaped from this reform school, they all went their separate ways, and the thing that brought them back was that the girl who became the writer was, I think she was on a podcast or something, and somebody heard and put two and two together and went, oh, we know her. And so it kind of all evolved from there. So I enjoyed that moment in the book when they realized that many years had passed, but there are certain friends that you make in certain times of your life where you can go back and see them and it's like no time at all has passed. And I tried to I
Yes.
tried to let that play out in Wayward Girls.
And I love that you say that because there are certain friends in your life and they serve a certain time period. And then maybe you lose connection and maybe you never gain connection with that person again. But then there are some that circle back around and life just has a way of working out that way, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And it was really a pleasure to write the book in such a broad canvas, starting from, when they were 15 years old, all the way until they were, old, very wise old women. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of it as well.
Well, Susan, we have so enjoyed talking with you today.
Oh, thank you. This was fun. You're like the first real person that I've spoken to because I'm working on a book, and so I've got, fictional characters in my head. So thank you for keeping me grounded, and thank you to readers and librarians and booksellers for keeping books, front and center in our lives because we all can use more books.
Perfectly stated. Yes, I agree.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Chapter Chat. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And for more positive content, check out our supporter, the Be Sweet Y'all podcast by Karen Key Smith.